Jim West. With me is Dell Ross and Mike O'Neill and Garrett Futch from Duplin County. Garrett, you see this guy over here, Garrett Futch? He's got a big old smile on his face because he knows that some team in Duplin County is going to go to the state championship. It's going to be Wallace Rose Hill and East Duplin. And we got Mike. Mike, you're from, is it Union County or Mecklenburg County? Union
Yes,
County.
sir. I
Okay,
am from Union County, sir.
gotcha.
Mis-
It was it Porter
Mr.
Ridge or
Union, Mr. Union County.
Yes,
okay?
sir. That's my nickname.
Porter Ridge. Is it Porter Ridge then that you attended?
Porter Ridge High School. Yes, sir. I
Gotcha.
graduated in 2018, and I had the best 4 years of my life there. You have no idea what I'm about to share with you.
That's
But,
awesome. I
but
can't
how
even
y'all?
remember except for a few highlights from my high school years. It's been back in the '80s though. So
So,
Dale, we're going to begin tonight.
well, what we're going to do is, Friday night I'm at Weddington watching ACR and, great ball game. And then after the game, Sam and I are kind of hanging around to talk to some people. And Michael comes up and, he's been familiar with us for a long time. And I think I want to kind of like pick it up right there and let Michael tell him how he knows us and, just this whole thing that got him from there to here. So take it over.
Thank you. Thanks very much for having me, Mr. Ross, Jim, Garrett.
Remember
How
what I
y'all doing
told
tonight?
you, Dale. It's Dale, not
Dale.
Mr. Ross.
Dale.
You call
I-
me Dale.
First of all, I'd like to ask how y'all doing tonight.
Great.
I'm doing pretty good, Mike. I'm doing pretty good, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Jim, are you doing good too?
I think Jim has his mic off because he's got some fan noise going on over there. So he
There you
tries
go.
to.
I'm sorry about that. I was just talking and talking and talking. When you said Mr. Ross, I was like, "Oh, where's Norrid? Norrid must be in here." Norrid's one of our, it's a great photographer, friend of ours, friend of the show. Doing great, man. It's a nice day in North Carolina. I live just north of Chapel Hill, and we had a lot of rain earlier on this day, but it's probably 60 degrees outside right now, which you can't beat this time of the year. So
No, you certainly cannot beat the weather at all. But also, I first want to start that I have seen Dale and Matt Morrow do their show on Carolina Varsity when I was in 8th grade at Porter Ridge Middle School. I was, at the time, starting to break out of my shell because I was diagnosed with a severe learning disorder at 2 years old. And it was a rocky journey for me to get to the Friday night lights and especially seeing my high school football team win it all. And Dale and Matt were previewing a lot of the Porter Ridge games my 8th grade year. That was in 2013. I remember them previewing some of their Southwestern 4A conference matchups at Butler, Rocky River, and East Meck. And certainly I had a few great friends on that team that I still look up to today. Like Dale, you talked about these people before. Nick Bagnone, Luke Bailey, Jared Robbins. I looked up to all these guys on that team. They led the Pirates to, ironically, the school's second state title exactly 10 years ago today. So, I mean, I got a lot of history behind that program. And that will soon translate into the opportunity for me to be known as Mr. Unity County. That part of me I will tell you about in just a couple minutes. Also, Dale and Matt, in their pregame previews, they were neutral in everything that they said. And they were serious about what they thought about each team, like Porter Ridge and Butler, I never got over how I honestly never got over how professional they were and how insightful they were on each team. And I'm sure Dale has been doing this Carolina Varsity for a long time. And of course, lo and behold, I run into him. And of course, being known as Mr. Unity County for 7 years has been a privilege and a blessing at the same time. Because when I was going through 2 crises during my freshman year at Porter Ridge, I had to do something. I had to break out of my shell a little bit more. And little did I know that I went to a regional title softball game at Sun Valley High School. The Spartans had a great softball team back at that time in 2015, and they punched their ticket to the regional title game, and they hosted county rival Piedmont. Of course, Porter Ridge is rivals with Piedmont and Sun Valley, and a long time ago, I said that Porter Ridge, Sun Valley, and Piedmont were 3 of my favorite high schools. Now, at least 12 high schools that we cover now, they're all my favorite high schools. But at that specific game, Sun Valley versus Piedmont, the softball regional title, that was in 3A, this guy named Jamie Ward, who had a son who went to middle school with me, saw me mingling with people from other schools. Ironically, I went to the game with a Porter Ridge shirt on me. And when Jamie walked up to me and coined me a nickname, that was my wake-up call. Because, hey, Carrie, how are you doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing mighty fine. Thank you for joining Carolina Varsity. But as I was saying, Carrie and everybody, I was telling some folks about my journey as Mr. Unity County. And, of course, the day when I was coined Mr. Unity County really took off from there. That was the wake-up call that I absolutely wanted to hear. And, of course, that would allow me to have a prominent social media presence on Facebook and Instagram. And I continued supporting all of my high school sports teams throughout the past 4 years. And I was eventually called the good luck charm at Porter Ridge High School athletics. And lo and behold, my senior year of high school comes, and I am having a ball of the time at Porter Ridge, being able to be the water boy for the Porter Ridge football team all 4 years and never missing a single high school football game is something that I will forever be grateful for when talking about my high school memories. And I also would like to add that I was additionally named the homecoming king, and I was named most school spirited, both during my senior year, because I did more for my senior year than I've ever done for any of their athletic teams. I started to be a role model for the youngsters, and I started to not just hang out with my class of 2018 classmates, but I made myself available to all of the youngsters at Porter Ridge, because knowing what I've gone through with my learning disorder and my family crisis, those moments allow me to continue getting myself out there on the gridiron and seeing what high school football is like and other sports across the county. And now I am in the process of reaching out to several high school coaches who have their teams going to the state title games in their respective sports. So, I mean, that journey does not stop here. Once I graduated from Porter Ridge in 2018, I was eventually hired by the Inquirer Journal and they saw the passion that I had for Union County sports. I eventually started as an intern. The EJ told me once I sat down for the interview that since I would be a college student, they would only publish one of my articles per semester. But lo and behold, my first article turned out to be exceptionally wonderful. My editor decided to publish it, and he published every single one of my articles from there. I mean, let me tell you something. This would have not have happened if the Inquirer Journal editor, Jerry Snow, did not reach out to me. And 4 years later, he and I have a phenomenal relationship. And Jerry is one of these guys where you can just send him an email and he is quick to respond right away to whatever you need him to do. And he has also given me some great advice on journalism, what sports news is like, and what field reporting is like when covering news. And he's been there and done that. And of course, with his guidance and mentorship, I have decided to get out of my circle of not just covering Union County sports, but of course, getting to know some folks across the state, sports experts like the four of you here tonight. And right now, I am not only a correspondent for that same newspaper, but I'm also pursuing communication studies at Wingate University as a senior. And it's been a phenomenal experience being a part of the Bulldog community. We have a great athletic program, and we have won at least 3 national titles at Wingate since 2016. And the growth, the athletic and academic growth at the university was one of the reasons why I wanted to go there. And with the mentorship of many faculty, even beyond communications, these people have certainly helped me reach my potential. And they have also allowed me to have deep, insightful conversation with them about what it means to be a part of Wingate University. I mean, our communications program is not as popular as you think it is, but we are improving. I am helping the communications program improve one day at a time through my articles, through my actions, words, and deeds, and through my interviews, especially with the Inquirer Journal. I mean, it's been a great journey, and I certainly look forward to more opportunities to connect with high school coaches, and I certainly look forward and excited to announce that I will be covering the Weddington and Grimsley high school football game this Friday night. I mean, let me tell you, that program has been well coached by Tim Carson and is now being consistent under Andy Capone, Carson's former assistant. I know I'm going on and on about a lot of high school sports and how I got here, but what impresses me about their program, Weddington, is about the fact that they are well disciplined on both sides of the ball, and their defense has been a historically significant reason for winning 3 state titles since 2016. I mean, think about this. The transition that Weddington made from 3A to 4A is inspiringly amazing for all of us to see, because football, they have adjusted week in and week out. Their quarterback, Tyler Budge, is certainly one of these people who is carrying that program on his shoulders. And if you're not making the right reads, if you're not making the right throws, and if you're not doing the right things off the field, you're certainly not going to see Friday nights. And for me, of course, I've been fortunate enough that I've done everything right in the classroom and on the fields and on the courts to have respect earned while being known as Mr. Union County. Because let me tell you all something else. I was not expecting someone to give me something to hold on to for the rest of my life. In fact, Mr. Uticani is a legacy that I plan to grow, not only here, but across the state of North Carolina. I mean, my mission from here on out is to not only earn the respect of the state, but also continue my mission of being here for the coaches and the student athletes in all sports in North Carolina, whether it may be football, basketball, baseball, whatever it may be. I mean, I look forward to talking sports with you all here tonight, and I certainly look forward to hearing what you all have to say about the regional title games coming up. So, really, Dale, I just thank you first for allowing me to open the floor for the first portion of the show.
Oh yeah, it's inspiring hearing you. Honestly, one of the things that I preach and I'm trying to learn even more about is you mentioned you had learning disability in the early part of your life. I'm trying to understand myself for other things, and we had a discussion about this a few weeks ago about what impacts humans and the different kind of disorders that people have and how they work through them. So that's inspiring. Even more inspiring is that our mission here is my mission that I set up a long time ago when I started Carolina Varsity, and I've kept it and tried to bring on people that share it, and it's always been to enhance everybody's experience that touches high school athletics, be it players, coaches, fans, parents, teachers, whoever. Everybody's experience needs to be better. And sounds like you got a similar, well, I know you do because I've known about you for a long time. I remember that winning the homecoming king thing. I remember that situation well. So it was great running into you Friday night, honestly. Sam speaks highly of you. He thinks very highly of you well, just to share that. So what I'm going to do, Carrie was kind enough to join us this week. I'm glad you did. Carrie, you went to that game last week.
I did.
A shocker, but
it was because I stood on the Kings Mountain side, which I had planned to stand on the East Lincoln side for Lincoln County, but my son was with me and we hadn't been to a Kings Mountain game, and he wanted to stand on the home side for the experience of the crowd and everything. So it was. How did
you enjoy that experience?
It was good. It was. I mean, they're very involved, and loud. It's a loud atmosphere. But we come from even our 2A team that travels. We travel very well, and games are packed. We don't. So I'm used to our games or whatever sport we go to having a ton of fans, but we're obviously not quite that loud. Not unless something is bad is happening, but no, it was good. It wasn't that good of a game because it wasn't that close, but
exactly, that was a shocker to everybody. I think
I'm assuming that they just didn't show up, like the team didn't, because I was not that impressed by their run game, and like it was.
I think as a combination of things, I can't say whether they showed up or not, but let's say that they did do a little bit of overlooking,
Like their
It
heart
could've
wasn't in it or something. Maybe they
Yeah.
just underestimated East Lincoln. But I had seen East Lincoln at the scrimmage early in the season, or at the very beginning of the opening, and I knew they were pretty
Yeah, I
amazing.
think it could have been a little bit of that, and a lot of East Lincoln is just better than everybody thought.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and so many people had hyped up Kings Mountain because I really thought maybe Kings Mountain would win all of it, and East Lincoln was really flying under the radar for a long time there. But I saw East Lincoln reminded. Now, you have to remember, I'm still new to football. We played Shelby in the playoffs a couple years ago, 2 years back to back. And the first time I ever saw Shelby at home come out of the locker room, it was like they were the Carolina Panthers. It was like, holy crap, what
Right.
is this? Nothing like the football teams. I was like, wow. But that's the way I felt seeing East Lincoln play at the beginning of the season. Because typically, they're not that much bigger than us, but they were giant compared to us, and they were moving fast, and I was just like, geez, this is beginning of the season. But I hadn't seen any of Kings Mountain's games or anything like that, because I stick with West Lincoln until they are out of it.
one thing about East Lincoln, I know a lot of people are saying they're flying under the radar. We've had them in the top 3 of our poll ever since the beginning of the season. It's the first
They
poll
just
we've
didn't
had
get
this year.
talked up like Kings Mountain did.
Yeah, but
Hey.
I think pretty much everybody though had a gap. Even us had a gap between Kings Mountain and them.
Yeah, well, at the
And
beginning of the season, I think I think Kings Mountain was better than East Lincoln, to be honest with you. Just something, I don't know, just something I saw on some of the films. They didn't, I'm not going to say they were going through the motions. They just didn't have the same sharpness and quickness as they did at the beginning of the season.
who didn't?
Kings Mountain. At least I didn't think they did.
It just didn't feel like their heart was in it. Like,
Yeah,
it
it didn't have
feel
the
like they were all
motions.
there.
Well, they had just played a very, very tough game the week before that they played exceptionally well. From talking with Sam, so
Well, to
West
be
Charlotte.
honest, that's how I would say our game against Hendersonville was. That
Right.
wasn't the team that I had seen the whole season. That was not the team that played Maiden.
Right.
That
but
showed
the
up
point
in
there,
Hendersonville.
the point there was their execution was good, Jim. Not not anything else. Just that they were on point with their execution in that
Right.
particular game. So I don't know that when you play, the problem for East Lincoln is in that regard of being valued is that they played a really weak schedule, and that's where it becomes very difficult when you look at a team and you look at their schedule, which was in strength of schedule was, oh gosh, it was
weak.
what it was a hugely weak in power ranking, almost a negative if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard. You can't judge. They're winning, but you can't really judge. So I think it was a combination of those two factors. Of something was going on with Kings Mountain, and
it
East
was
Lincoln
shocking,
just good.
Joe, at my scrimmage to see East Lincoln play at opening. It was, wow, they're going to be really good, like really good. So I knew
they've got D1 players. They've got there's another Surratt there.
Yeah, I know, like Cutter's going to West Virginia, and there's another D1 player I think on there.
Yeah, I think there's 3 actually.
Is there?
Yeah.
So there's kind of a myth about the it's always important to have a strong schedule, especially non-conference schedule, but there's a little bit of a myth that saying if you have a weak non-conference schedule, you're not going to be really good in December. I remember in 2016, there was a team over Wake County that I don't think they've probably played a top 80, 90 team school in the whole regular season. And they ended up winning the 4AA state championship, Wake Forest. You remember that, Dale?
Oh
They
yeah.
beat teams like Cary and Green Hope and Rollsville and stuff like that back when Rollsville wasn't strong at all.
But it's
And
hard to value that team.
it's hard to
Up.
evaluate them. That's the problem.
Get their value in until they play somebody good. And unfortunately, sometimes teams see that and they think, well, maybe, we've got it made, and we don't have to bring it. And the problem with athletics is if you don't have the attitude at the kickoff, you're not going to get it. You won't get it during the game. Or by the time you develop it, it's too late.
Well, that's when they started to make their comeback. It was too little, too late. There was no way they could come back and get close to what had been put on the board. And I was just like, surely when they come back from halftime, they'll have a nice talking at halftime, and you'll see a totally different team. But you didn't. It took a little while into that second half for them to really decide, hey, this is going to be the end of it if we don't put a little more into it. And then you could really, they started scoring and you could really see a change. But
it's hard to get in the zone. It really is. And it takes, usually kids are in the zone before they go out on the field and do their warm-ups. They're already in the zone.
I think
they're getting in the zone when they're having their pregame meal.
Yeah, and after the interceptions that were thrown and stuff like that, I think they really got defeated and never came back.
Yeah, so I think that's probably a situation where Kings Mountain thought they could do something they found out they couldn't do. That's called you scheme to do a certain, you game plan to do a certain thing that you think you can do. And then you go out and you attempt to do it, and it completely fails, which is what happened. It really is a disarray situation.
And East Lincoln has some history. They've been there and they've won it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
So,
but to me, it sounds like I'm sorry to cut you guys off, but to me, it sounds like East Lincoln kind of got hot right there at the last second, right before the playoffs and stuff.
No, they've been this way the whole season.
The whole time.
Yeah, they're undefeated. They're undefeated.
Well, they're undefeated. Okay. Well, it's also kind of sound, y'all talking about the scheduling and stuff for them. They also remind me a little bit of Southwest Onslow back in 2012 when the Southwest team made it all the way to the East Regional Finals, and they played a real good James Keenan team. And matter of fact, James Keenan was the overall number one seed that year, and everybody was talking up about, oh well, James Keenan's gonna beat them. They're gonna mop the floor with them. Southwest ain't played nobody. Southwest has played a weak schedule. And then at the end of the game, Southwest was one that beat them about 30-14. So,
the problem you're talking about James Keenan, man. I mean, you're talking about James Keenan. I mean, they got some shady characters over there in Warsaw.
The problem with that is it's okay that us here on this panel, if you will, we can say those things and think those things. The problem is when the teams that are playing think those things.
Yeah.
And then they get shocked. The coaches love to try to find some bulletin board material, say like things that we're saying. But at the end of the day, they don't really care because they prepare their teams to play. And if they aren't prepared, or if they would never prepare their team that, hey, we can, these guys are easy, we can blow them out. The problem is sometimes people get that in their head, which is kids.
I've run into some coaches before, I'd talk to them and be like, hey, have you seeing what they said on this board or that board, and they're like, I don't even go up there. I don't even go on the message boards. I don't look at it. I don't even worry about it.
Yeah,
You
because it
you
doesn't
hear, you hear
matter.
a lot of fans talking about what such and such said, or what such and such is hyped up their team and this, that, the other on these boards and or social media or whatever. But the coaches, I mean, even some of the coaches even told me like, "Hey, I don't even go up there. I don't even worry about that. I worry about what's going on the field," which is
Exactly.
a very common coach comment, but still, it's it's accurate. It's a very accurate common coach comment because I think a lot of the coaches do not even they don't even worry about it at all.
They're
No,
good,
They
they
but
don't
most
just
of the
think.
coaches want to make sure their players don't say anything too stupid. that's
right.
All
that's the
right.
main thing.
So what we're going to do is, Jim, we're going to do like we've been doing.
Okay.
So have you start on the East and
All right. Well, last week Tarboro beat Northampton. There was no shock with that, but I think there was a shock that Rosewood ended up going to Robbins and beat North more. That shocked me. And not only did they beat them, they beat them pretty handily too. It was, I think it was like 27-7. Yeah, 27-7.
7
That being
7?
said, I take the team that wins this game their name will rhyme with Carborough. I'll take Tarboro probably by 2 or 3 scores.
I cannot not pick Scarborough. They've been my team all year, and they will continue to be my team. Nothing more to say
I'm
for
gonna have
me.
I'm gonna have to go with the Vikings myself. And I heard about how shocking it was about how Rosewood went up to Northmore and beat the Mustangs, and quite frankly, I've heard some people, that have watched Rosewood play this year. They went to watch them play Rosewood North Duplin back during the season, and one guy told me, he said, well, Rosewood's pretty big. He said, I'd love to see that Rosewood Torbo game because they're a pretty big bunch of boys. So he said he don't think they're gonna beat Torbo, but he doesn't think it's gonna be a blowout either. But and I really think that Torbo is can still be that team that's gonna go to the state championship. I heard that they the only team out of the high school playoffs right now that is a reigning state champion from last year. So I think they're gonna be able to go be there next week at Carter Finley and be able to take on whoever to defend that crown next week. I'll go with the Vikings and Jeff Carlock's Vikings.
Gary,
You have
Michael,
a
you got anything to say?
Me,
All
Yeah,
I've heard all year is Tarboro.
Tarboro. Well, my first knowledge about Tarboro came around the time when I was just checking out stuff from teams across the state of North Carolina. And Tarboro's got a great reputation. This year, they have a 12-1 record. And of course, they've scored almost about 600 points a game. And usually teams that get up here who have an undefeated record, like Tarboro, I mean, let me tell you, those high-powered offenses are going to carry them through to the state title. I mean, I haven't known much about Tarboro this year until tonight. But, of course, they have been scoring at least an average of 40 points a game since their home win against Southwest Edgecombe the 9th of September. And their offensive reputation is led by quarterback, junior, Marion Lewis. I mean, we don't know much about Lewis's athleticism, but he does have several running backs who are containing him and the Vikings' offensive attack. You got Mason Satterfield and Camarion Madell Moore, and they have combined for over 2,000 rushing yards and at least 38 touchdowns. That is at least, I have to say, it has to be 30, 36 more touchdowns they have almost combined in the Vikings' recent efforts to keep their offense intact. The defense, however, on the other side, has been really, really decent, I think, in the playoffs too, because when you're looking at Tarboro based on overall as a team, of course, they have allowed just 14.8 yards per completion against its opponents. I mean, let me just say that I don't have a specific vote on tonight's game, but I might have to roll with Tarboro there because they also have a good reputation of winning state titles, and I respectfully have to go with Tarboro.
Oh yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to the West, and this is an interesting game to say the least. Mount Airy Drawn. Drawn knows how to go vertical. They know how to run. They know how to play defense. Mount Airy's. They're just as good as can be. Too. They've had a very solid season this year. I think they lost one game. They lost to East Surrey, which is a two-way school. Only lost them by like a point or two. Right now, Drawn impresses me just a little bit more than Mount Airy. The game is at Mount Airy, but Drawn they've defeated Thomasville. They won a big game last week over at Andrews, beat them 42-21. I'm rolling the dice and going with Drawn on this one. I don't think it's really rolling the dice that much, to be honest with you.
Yeah, Jim, that game against Andrews, not just beating Andrews, but almost a woodshed beating.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive, I think. Just something that the other people here might not know. I know you know, but I think it's good information to have. This is Drawn's first time being in a regional final. Mount Airy has a multitude of state championships. Mount Airy is currently somewhere around 60 in the nation in all-time wins. In the nation, not the state, the nation. This is an interesting matchup, in my opinion, a tradition and a newcomer. And I'm with you on that rolling the dice. I rolled the dice on the observer picks and went with Drawn myself. I think it's going to be a tough game, but I do think it's a game they can win. Anybody else?
I myself don't know much about, Drawn. I hadn't really followed them. I know Mount Airy, like you said, traditionally, 1A wise, traditionally, they have been very strong, playing strong teams, in the past and stuff. And I would say, and you guys might can disagree with what I say, but if you're looking for an upset pick in the 1A this week, this right here might actually have that upset pick label on it. Drawn could probably be that team to upset Mount Airy. So like I say, y'all might could disagree with me on it. Compared to the eastern side of the bracket, that's also one of those, like you said, tradition versus newcomer. We don't care much about Rosewood being in the regional finals. We hear Tarbell's name a lot, but not Rosewood's. So, this right here has pretty much got that same feel.
Yes, and also for John, I mean, they too had an incredible playoff run as, of course, the number 6 seed in the 1A West. And ironically, they started their playoff journey with a 66-14 easy home win against Union Academy. Ironically, the Cardinals are one of 12 teams that we cover for the Quar Journal back home in Union County. From there, I mean, their playoff run just been dramatic. Has been a dramatic roller coaster after getting away with road wins at Thomasville by 5 points and Andrews by 21 points. I mean, that's probably unheard of for some teams who have improved and turned around its season. But specifically, when you are looking at both offensive schemes, first for Drawn, the visiting team, you have quarterback on offense, junior E.J. Tillery, who has amassed 2,452 passing yards, 31 touchdowns against 4 receptions. I mean, when I'm talking quarterbacks, I'm not just talking about them. I'm talking about their backs, receivers. I mean, Dale, you have talked consistently about how certain offenses mesh against others across the state of North Carolina. You've seen it all. You've seen it happen. He's got one rusher who has completely helped him spread the ball around. That is running back junior Nigel Dula. He has contributed 29 touchdowns this year for the Wildcats, and together that offense has produced 184.1 passing yards per game, and rushing, they have had over 224.4 rushing yards per game. So I'm sure that offensive attack will have to compete with the stoned toughness that Mount Airy has on the other side. When you guys are thinking about Mount Airy, think about this. They've had a 12-game win streak since a 2-point loss to East Surrey, and they have amassed over 723 points. That's unheard of, but it is what it is. Their offense, the Granite Bears, is led by Ian Gallimore, their quarterback, and he has plenty of good rushers who have set the table for the Granite Bears up there in the mountains. But the one other thing I'll say about them, and of course Tyler Mason has carried most of the workload for their offense, scoring 41 touchdowns. I mean, from hearing y'all discuss his historic success of all-time wins, you have to have a productive offense to consistently put up points and win. But on the other side, you also have to have great defensive backs, linemen, and linebackers too. And Mount Airy's defense has at least 8 players who have amassed over 50 tackles. And of course, talking about Mount Airy briefly on the defensive side of the ball, I mean, I would assume they have done a fantastic job limiting opponents to just at least 1 touchdown. But I will have to say, in their road win at Eastern Randolph, they have at least given up 17 to the home team. But certainly with Tyron Mason's rushing ability. I'm sure that it will be a shootout. I mean, we don't know what's going to happen with Mount Airy and Drawn, but if I were to pick on this one here, I would have to say, Mount Airy will take this one because, of course, I have truly the utmost respect for Mount Airy and Drawn at the same time, but I'm picking the home team to win this one.
Be a good game, don't you think? I think it's going to be a great game.
I'm sure. Both teams are 13-1, and Mount Airy has got the rights to host this one, and of course it'll be at 7:30. So we'll see how that scoring shootout will roll.
All right, going to the 2A. Oh, Carrie, did you have anything to add to the 1A?
I picked Drawn.
You picked Drawn. Okay. All right. So going to the 2A here, Wallace Rose Hill, East Duplin, these two teams met earlier on the season. I think it was like 13-12 East Duplin, if I remember right. It was a very close game, and at one time Wallace Rose Hill was actually ranked number 1 in our top 10 poll for 2A. These two teams, the game's going to be over at Beulahville, over at East Duplin. It really could go either way. Their coaching, both have tremendous coaching staffs. I think Battle Holly is, if there's one guy that's due in 2A to win a state championship, it might be Battle Holly. It's hard to go against East Duplin. It's hard to go against Wallace Rose Hill. I'm like going to flip a coin. Let's see here. Let me get a coin out here. It's just one of those things here. It's okay. Heads is East Duplin. Tails is Wallace Rose Hill. All right, and I've been on my glasses here. What is this? Can't even tell. It's heads. So, who did I say would win if it was heads?
Didn't you say Wallace Rose Hill?
I thought so. I'm taking Wallace Rose Hill on a coin flip. I think it'll go in overtime.
I too believe this is like a one-score game. Wallace Rose Hill's kind of done some good things here in the playoffs, but you know what? I'm going to go opposite of you just because, and that's the only reason. I think either one of these teams could win. No, I'll pick a little bit of a reason. Duplin Winery. There you go.
Well, Wallace Rose Hill, that's in Duplin County too, man. But it's not in
I know. But they don't have Duplin in their name, so
exactly right. There you go.
They're a little bit closer.
You can pick North Duplin next year for 1A.
There you go.
All right, this is in Garrett's bread basket here.
Yeah,
this
is my bread and butter right here. This bracket right here is my bread and butter, the East and a little bit of the West. Oh God. Okay, yeah, when they first played each other, it was 13-12, which was also at East Duplin. And James and Wallace actually had a chance to beat East Duplin that game, but they failed to do so. Both teams have great, excellent coaching staffs. Mike Singer at Wallace has built that program to be a national to be a state powerhouse, in and out. Just like he did when he was in the Alabama school, and just like he tried to do at James Keeney, he did a great job there. And Mike Singer is very well liked by them players, and he loves them kids. He loves the community. And he was a great fit for that school. Battle High, the son of the legendary Jack Holly, who coached at Wallace Rose Hill for many seasons, and Battle has done abundantly great job wherever he goes, whether it's Kinston, whether it's East Dublin, Wallace, he has done a wonderful job. And this is a tough pick, but I I don't think it's going to be a blowout by no means, but I'm going to have to nod my head just teenily towards Wallace because they remember how heartbreaking that loss to East Dublin was a couple weeks ago, and then them boys ain't forgotten. This happened last year too. They played. They did the same thing last year. This right here is, you might as well consider round 4, so to speak, because they played each other last year. Did the same thing. They lost. East Dublin beat Wallace at Wallace last year, and Wallace tried back around and beat them at East Dublin last year, and then this year Wallace loses to East Dublin for the state for the conference championship, which same thing happened last year, and then Wallace turns around and beats them in the state playoffs. And so this right here, this is going to be the second time these two teams have played each other in the state playoffs, last year being the first time. And if I'm not seriously mistaken, I believe this will be the first time these two teams have played each other in the East Regional Finals. But it's never been the first time that had a Duplin County rivalry for the Eastern Finals either. Brian Castane's old boys, James Keenan and Wallace, have played numerous times in the Eastern Regional Finals. So Duplin County football has had a abundance of teams in the Eastern Finals for many years.
When you just brought up the damn man, that's TDM.
Yeah, I just brought him up.
He's a good friend of mine, and it's funny though. I believe he's helped in the past, helped some of the kids in Wallace Rose Hill district now.
Yes, he has. He actually has, and some of these boys have actually, they play rec ball for Brian. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that's true. And, if I'm also not mistaken, I think some of these boys also played at Charity whenever Tim Grady was coaching at Charity. So this kind of, it's like I told you and Dale at the beginning, before we started the show, about recreation football and middle school football, and how the middle schools and recreation teams, are it's like that, that's how us has gotten so good, because they had these great feeder programs. Me and you and Dale were talking before the show started, and we talked about the middle school programs and talked about East Duplin and Wallace and how, and I told you how East Duplin had, when they went in 2017, how in 2017, some people said that East Duplin wasn't going to make it to the state championship again for a while. And I said, and I was thinking in my mind, I'm thinking, no, I don't think that's going to happen. I think East Duplin's going to be here again in due time, probably the next few years because of how good their rec ball program was, and how decent their middle school program was, and how great their uh, high school JV football program was. So,
Right.
it's the same thing with Wallace. Both these schools, their recreation football programs, their middle school football programs, and their the JV football programs all feed into the high school programs, and that's why you're seeing East Duplin and Wallace Rose Hill, James Keenan. That's why you're seeing these schools right here that are keep popping up. Tarboro keep popping
Yeah,
up.
it's the same schools out there.
Yeah, they keep
Garrett,
popping up.
just
And
just to let you know, Carrie, she was originally from not that far from where you're from. She was from Brunswick County originally.
okay. And
Now, Carrie, when you were in high school, did you? I know a lot of talk was probably with Wilmington, like with Hoggard, New Hanover, and so forth. Did the papers ever talk about James Keenan or Wallace Rose Hill or?
I had never heard of James Keenan, but we played Wallace Rose Hill like in our jamboree at the beginning of the year, and we would see them a lot, hear about them a lot, but we only got matched up with them during the jamboree. So we saw a lot of them, but I don't think when I was in high school they were as good as they are now.
Yeah.
They were okay. They were just weren't.
I know
like they are now.
Is Michael still with us?
I don't know, but
Looks like it's-
I see. There you are.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm
No,
still
no,
here.
you're fine.
Oh, you're fine. Michael,
Around Hoggard was big. Where
gotcha. Michael, do you have like a minute or so that you can tell if you have a thought about East Duplin, Wallace Rose Hill? We're going to go ahead and try to wrap up the 2As.
Well, sure, absolutely. I mean, Gary, you gave a pretty good insight about how two of these programs have been well recognized across the Wallace, Rose Hill, East, and East Duplin. And of course, they have a great reputation of building successful programs through the years, as you alluded to, the middle school and the JV varsity programs. I mean, I'm sure they have been well run and well coached through the years because, I mean, for East Duplin, Coach Hawley has also done a good job managing consistent offenses. And of course,
yes.
Briefly, it's going to be a trap meet, and certainly for the rematch to might come down to the wire, I think we're going to have to pick Wallace Rose Hill.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Carrie, I didn't mean to cut you off if you were.
you did.
So
I picked Wallace Rose Hill too.
Wallace Rose Hill, okay. So we're going to go to the west now. Reidsville Burns. Reidsville has been consistently in the top 5. Burns has been consistently in the top 5 for top 7 this year. I think Burns is. I can't remember if we got him ranked first right now or not, first or second. This is going to be a heck of a game right here. Reidsville is a team that can exploit your weaknesses, can exploit your mistakes. They play tremendous defense, and they can pass the ball. They can run the ball. They got size. They can control the line of scrimmage. Burns has a lot of athletes on the team, and for Burns to win against Reidsville, they're going to have to execute. They're going to have to not miss any blocking assignments. They're going to have to cut their routes right. They're going to have to handle the ball, not turn it over. This is another one. This is another one could really go either way. I'm taking Reidsville in this game, though. I like Reidsville. I think Cleveland County might have the most disappointing football season because at one time I thought that Burns and Kings Mountain would win the state championships, but I'm going with Reidsville in this game, just a hunch.
So I'm going with Burns. They've had a nice run here in the playoffs. They've actually had a great season. Very high-powered offense. Very, very high-powered offense. Really good quarterback. I like quarterbacks when you need them. Of course, you need quarterbacks all the time, but sometimes you need a really good quarterback, right?
Someone
And,
that can, if you have to throw like lateral pass, is good to have a good quarterback.
right. Well, even in run games, your
Yeah.
quarterback's got to be able to handle the ball in handoffs, and depending upon if there's misdirection in the offense, et cetera, the quarterback technique can be rather important in non-passing situations. But I just Burns. It's always been somebody else in Cleveland County. Now, Kings Mountain has always been a letdown, unfortunately. I was going to say that earlier when we were talking, but this is new ground for Burns. And I think regardless of it being new ground, they might be able to break through. Reidsville's going to be a tough, another traditional team that's just had a solid season. And I think this is going to be the question is, can the game be as good as Burns' game with Monroe? Because that was a barn burner. But I'm picking Burns. You're picking Reidsville. I think the game's. I don't think either team can win more than 10 points. Probably in that 3 to 7 point range.
I myself is going to have to say with this one, it's another one of those, like you said before, tradition versus newcomer type of games. Tradition being Reidsville, newcomer being Burns. And I got myself on Reidsville with this, but I'm going to give y'all a quick little pop quiz. Which team in North Carolina history of high school football has the most state championships?
Reidsville.
Reidsville, exactly.
I don't know why you're asking us that. We should have asked Michael and Terry.
That's all that.
I mean,
that's all that is. Jim's done his research. That's all. Either that he cheated.
I know it too.
Robbinsville in 1A, I think, is the number one.
Robbinsville's,
they've won 13 or 14 or so.
There's certain storied programs in North Carolina, and we've talked about several of them already. Yeah,
but all time, I think Reidsville's it. Because I think I saw this article about it about during the summer and it showed Reidsville as one of the all-time winners high school football teams in the state of North Carolina. So that when I
maybe not of all-time winningest, Mount Airy's the all-time winningest.
They were saying Reidsville.
But Reidsville's won more state championships.
Right, that's what we're talking about. All-time state championship winning, state championships. Yeah.
Now, Carrie, who's your pick between Reidsville and Burns? Who do you like?
I really want Burns to win because they're only 19 minutes from our school. So they're really our neighbors. And our coach started off at Burns, so they have some history there. And I went and watched the game against Shelby and was on the sidelines with Burns. But I think that Reidsville might be too much for them. So I'm going to pick Reidsville, but I want Burns to upset them.
That's fair. Yeah.
For me, I was so impressed with Burns' offensive attack and offensive display. Their quarterback, Ben Monty, and wide receiver, Ryan Thompson, connected for 4 touchdowns for over 240 yards. And certainly, for them to survive a 49-40 shootout against Monroe, I'm very impressed with them. I mean, not to take anything away from Reidsville, but also about the fact that Reedsville has an explosive offensive attack as well. I mean, again, not talking about their offense, but of course, Reedsville has certainly done its job right, especially on the defensive side of the ball. They have limited opponents to at least 32 points in his previous 3 playoff games. I mean, at least. Their offensive attack, led by Lee, quarterback by the name of Aaron Ali, of course. The coach there in Reedsville has an extraordinary background of coaching, and of course Lee and his posse of running backs, Jeremiah Reed, Trey Poteet, and Paul Weiderman have certainly, helped them out. Helped them shut out opponents by, of course, Madison, 76-14, Providence Grove by 51 points, and Chase, 30 points, and Maiden 35. I mean, it's a tough pick for me, but Burns, I believe that they can possibly upset him at home and make it to the state title game, because I'm sure they have not been back to the state title game in the two-way classification in a long time. And there again, Burns has got to keep its offensive attack in control. Ben Marty's got to find his receivers at the right time. And of course, with my pick, I'm going with Burns. It's another battle of 13-1 teams, so it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard to say who is at the top of the game, unless when Friday comes, we will see who will remain victorious and move on. So, Burns.
All right, moving on. We're going to go to the 3A here. We got Northern Nash versus 71st. These are Clash of the Titans right now. I believe both these teams are undefeated. Northern Nash has just done what they needed to win these games. I think at halftime they were only up by like 6 or 7 points against Triton, and next thing you know, they just blew them out. Scored, I think, 42 points against them. And 71st did a shellacking, took Terry Sanford to the woodshed last week. I'm going with Terry Sanford in this game. I'm in the Terry Sanford, 71st. I'm going to take 71st in this game. I had a Fayetteville team in my mind. I just think 71st is peaking at the right time right now, and I think that it's going to be another really tight one though. 1-score game for me.
Okay. Yeah, Northern Nash ended that fairy tale run for Triton, didn't they?
They did.
You knew it was coming at some time.
Yeah.
This is going to be this was a tough game. This was one of the observer picks. I picked 71st in the game, and I'm sticking with 71st. I thought about some of my picks, whether I might flip on them. But again, you know what, Jim, I'm just right there with you all the way. It's going to be a tight ball game. Again, it's a 1-score game, but I do give that edge to 71st.
To me, this hearing about 71st kind of mind brings me back to the days of flipping through them old radio dials, and the only games you can find is them Fayetteville games, E. Smith 71st on them old Game of the Week radio dials. But I'm gonna have to give this one to Northern Nash here. They a 1 seed for a reason this year. The Firebird. No, they ain't the Firebirds. They the Bulldogs, ain't they? But Northern Nash is being pretty stellar from what I've seen. Now I won't put it past 71st, but I still think Northern Nash.
Okay. Okay, Carrie, what you know about these teams? You're from the eastern part of the state, Linton.
Not a whole lot, but I do watch the scores as they come in every week, and I'm gonna pick 71st.
Okay.
So,
Yes, sir.
well, so I. I mean, it's just also that important to say that I have family who grew up in Fayetteville. My great grandmother went to 71st and graduated from that school in 1943. That was a different building at the time, and it was certainly a different environment than what we're seeing now from 71st. Nothing to take away from Northern Nashville because both of these teams are coming in at 14-0. 71st has done an excellent job on defense, not allowing a lot of touchdowns, not allowing a lot of points. And of course, the Falcons on defense are led by several linebackers who have averaged over 100 tackles, total tackles, I have to say. Those including sophomore Donovan Frederick, who has 175, and along with his fellow classmate Hector Bautista with 154. So when you're looking at that defense all together, of course, they have. I would assume they've done a good job rushing the ball at the right time, and especially Harper on Josiah Harper, a senior for 71st, compiling 43 tackles for a loss. It says a lot. It says a lot about how they can get to the football, but also on the other side, they are going to have to put up a good dogfight against the Knights' offense, led by senior quarterback Keno Jones. This young man has completed 102 for 160 passes for 1,122 passing yards and 29 touchdowns. They have an average running game, as you may have noticed here, but of course, with 71st having its shot of going to the state title game, I'm going to have to pick them. And certainly, they've been here before. They've been here 4 years ago, and they put up a good draw fight against Scotland too. But they ended up losing. 71st did, and Scotland ended up losing to East Forsyth, who ended up defeating my high school, Porter Ridge, in the 4A regional title game to win the state title. So 71st is my pick.
All right. So we're going to go to the west here. East Lincoln, South Point. East Lincoln, they did a number on Kings Mountain that's we all know about, and South Point, they keep on trucking. I mean, what else can you say about South Point? A lot of people are saying East Lincoln has flown under the radar, which is at least here they haven't. They've lived under the shadow of Kings Mountain, but they haven't flown under the radar by any stretch of imagination. They've been the top three the whole year. South Point has kind of gone under the radar a little bit. I think right now, if I was East Lincoln, I'd really be worried about a letdown. I'd be really worried about a letdown. I'm still going with East Lincoln in this game, but don't be surprised if South Point pulls this one out.
I was hoping that Anthony would join us tonight. He gave me a thumbs up. I don't know what happened. So hopefully I'll see Anthony Friday night. Anthony's our South Point guy, for those who don't know. Jim, boy, this is tough here because for the longest time, I've been calling South Point the second best team on this side of the bracket. And I still think they're a great team. Of course, after what East Lincoln did, huge run team. That's what you've got to do to beat South Point. You got to stop the run. I'm flipping in my mind on this, but in the pick for the Observer, I picked East Lincoln. And I think I'm staying with it as of today. That doesn't mean it may not change tomorrow, but that's my pick. I think it's going to be a very close ball game. I don't think this will be like last week's Kings Mountain game.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, Garrett, what's your thoughts here? You got an opinion one way or the other?
This right here, we were talking about East Lincoln earlier. And they just keep on keeping on. I don't know much about South Point. I saw where they, eat by Quest last week. And South Point, like you said, and like Dale just mentioned just not too long ago, the thing that you need to worry about the most when it comes to East Lincoln is that letdown. They just won a high emotional roller coaster game against Kings Mountain last week. East Lincoln did. And, this right here, it could be, hopefully it's not, but it could be that letdown game. Everybody be thinking in their mind, hey, West Regional Finals, it can't be a letdown game because win to go home. But that ain't always the case because sometimes you're thinking, oh, we beat the beast of the West or whatever, and we can go all the way. And sometimes a team that may be inferior as far as seeding the goes or whatever can be overlooked, and they'll jump up and bite you right square on the keister. So this might be that letdown game, but it's tough. I'm giving East Lincoln the tiny little slight nod, but like you said, this could be a letdown game.
I don't want to cut anybody off, but I just wanted to let Chris know we'll address this question after we finish. All right, okay. Go ahead, Carrie.
I'm picking East Lincoln.
That's interesting. You are from Lincoln County, so.
And she saw them whoop Kings Mountain last week.
Yeah, it's interesting. A West Lincoln lady pulling for East Lincoln. That has to, when I was in Stanley County, when I was in North Stanley, we never pulled for Albemarle.
Well, they're not they're 3A or 2A. But,
right.
You don't hear that a whole lot. But I am partial to Lincoln County schools.
Yeah, totally get it.
Yep.
How about you, Mike?
South Point certainly has had its share of sand kicked in their face, as we all know and seen from them decades before. South Point has definitely earned its winning reputation as one of the most recognizable programs, especially winning 5 state titles. Well, 4 state titles in just 5 appearances. 4 out of 5. It's a really, really good chance for South Point to win if they can hang on to East Lincoln's offensive attack up front. You have Ty Mizzle, senior quarterback, who is leading and anchoring the Mustang offense, and this guy is thrown 35 touchdowns against 4 picks. And ironically, I have met him at the Weddington Optimist Fields when I was working out there a couple years ago too. I had a couple conversations with him, and I'm sure that with the transformation of progress that he has seen with East Lincoln, I'm sure that his offense would have a chance. Christopher Daly is backing him up at running back. He has 19 touchdowns, and his go-to receivers are Michael Clark and Keandre Walker, who have combined for 24 receiving touchdowns. So Clark and Walker are two of Mizzou's best receivers up front. So the South Point defense needs to do a better job of just mixing up East Lincoln's offense. And because, as we can see here, they have given up 223 points. But at the same time, they got a breakthrough when they were at Dudley in the second round of the playoffs, scoring in a massive 74 total points in that game alone. Think about this. If they have not kept up with Dudley and risen up to the top over there, they would have not been in this regional title stage. We would not have been talking about South Point. But to give East Lincoln its respect, I mean, no offense to South Point, I'm giving the Mustangs my nod because they too have a chance, and they certainly have got all the talent up front on both sides of the ball. But South Point, if they like to hang in there, their defense needs to be well disciplined up front. So East Lincoln.
Awesome. All right, let me flip over. I'm sorry. Let's get to the 4A. All right.
You know, we'll start out in the East. Millbrook, Newbern. Newbern has done everything they need to so far. They've won games. They keep on winning games. They've been our favorite in the East since the very beginning of the season. Millbrook has done a really good job in the playoffs. I think this is going to be a Newbern game. I'll say it's going to be several scores too. Newbern probably 2-3 touchdowns.
Yeah. Really not much more to say to that other than for Millbrook to win, they're going to have to stop that run game. That's really all there is to it. Newbern, you said 2 scores?
I said 2-3 scores.
2-3 scores. Millbrook's got a pretty good offense. I'm going to say 2 scores. No more than 2 scores. But we'll see now.
Looks like Garrett is out. Carrie, who do you like in this game?
Newbern. I don't know much about that area, so I'll just go by what we've had them ranked.
They got a lot of bears up in Newbern.
They got a few, don't they?
I know about the area Newbern. I just don't know about their football program.
I think it was 2015 or 2016. I went there for New Year's Eve, and it was 2015. And there was, like, everywhere you go, there's like these statues of these bears standing straight up and stuff like that. And there's one of them where I was posing with the bear and giving it rabbit ears. And it was one of these days, Sedell, was probably 70 degrees on New Year's Day. It was so nice. And it was foggy. But
Sounds like the South.
yeah.
Okay.
Garrett, Michael, you guys here?
Yes, sorry. I had to do something real fast. Of course, Kerry, I got a lot of information about Newbern that you are going to be fascinated about. I mean, that school has been around for a long time, and its football program started its dominance in the early 2000s. And the Bears eventually made it to their first state title for the first time in almost 80 years in 2002. They won that title here, and of course, the following years, of course, well, I mean, Newbern has, I I apologize for messing up. New Bern played Independence back-to-back years in the state title game, and they lost both times. But in 2007, they won their first and their second state title win was against my high school too. Ironically, 10 years ago, New Bern and Porter Ridge played at UNC. And there was a shootout game. It was a 39-38 win for New Bern over Porter Ridge. And 2 years later, they beat Charlotte Catholic by at least 5 points. So, of course, their offensive attack is very, very stout up front. I mean, you got 3 rushers who are averaging more than a thousand yards in total, and they are together seniors Aron Herring, Jaden Wallace, and Damari Tucker are contributing most of the workload on the rushing attack. They have scored at least a total of 57 total rushing touchdowns, and together they have helped. They helped put together 5,825 rushing yards in New Bern's successful season under Coach Tori Nola. Tori Nola has, successfully led the charge there. Now, going on to Millbrook, you have another good quarterback up front leading the Wildcat offense, Mason Fortune. He has 3,820 passing yards on his resume this year and 37 touchdowns against 11 picks. And the passing game for Millbrook, and I mean, I think that's going to be, I think if Millbrook does not get into the game early, it's going to be a letdown for them. So, considering New Bern's history of winning, I'm going to go with the Bears. And, of course, we will carry on to the Grimsley-Weddington game.
All right. So going to the West, Grimsley-Weddington. This game is over at Simeon Stadium. If you ever get a chance to go to Simeon Stadium, I highly recommend. I went there, I guess it was about 3 weeks ago, and saw them host Charlotte Catholics. Beautiful stadium. Great atmosphere. I didn't realize this. One of my friends actually painted that stadium. He's a painting contractor, and they said when that stadium was created, it was supposed to resemble Wallace Wade Stadium in Durham. And anyway, about the game, this is going to be a very, very good game. Grimsley has a lot of talent on that field. Weddington has a lot of talent on that field. Both teams execute. Both teams are disciplined. You know, the objective observer in me, I've got to go with Grimsley in this game. I just think they have a little bit more talent. Weddington might have a little bit more execution, maybe a little bit more discipline. I just say Grimsley's going to have – I think they're going to win maybe 4 to 6 points or so, but I think it's going to be Grimsley win.
Boy, this is a very hard game to pick. Coach Capone called us out Friday night and said we'd be picking against him. And I did pick in the observer picks. I did pick Grimsley, but I had to make that pick by Monday morning at 11 a.m. And here it is Wednesday night at 9:30. And to be honest with you, I'm still not set on how to go on this game. One thing I'll say, Jim, is don't be misled that Weddington doesn't have a lot of talent, because they do.
Oh, I agree. They have a lot of talent.
But the one thing that they are exceptional at, and there's very few teams that match, very few, and that is the whole execution, not making mistakes, that kind of stuff. They are kind of in a league by not by themselves, but close to by themselves. That was one of the things that ACR didn't expect to see. ACR, a very, very good team that they beat Friday night. but Weddington just doesn't make mistakes, and ACR needed them to. I'm still on the fence with this game. I'm still a one-score game. And here, since I don't have to put a pick down, I can't pick yet. I can live with my Grimsley pick, but by Friday, that pick may be Weddington. That's all I can say.
If Weddington has a lead in the fourth quarter and it's maybe 6 minutes left, it's hard to go against Weddington because I think they know how to put the games over. If Grimsley makes Weddington into a one-dimensional team where they have to pass the ball because they're not going to run very easily against Grimsley. If they make them pass, I'd be a little bit nervous about it, but I think it's one heck of a game.
They can pass.
Yeah.
Don't think they can't. It's going to be an interesting game, I think.
Garrett, we're going to go back one quick one for you. New Bern and Millbrook. All of us had New Bern. You going to go with New Bern or you going to go crazy and go with Millbrook?
Clean
He's going
sweep.
crazy. He's going with Millbrook here. Okay.
Clean sweep. New Bern.
New Bern. Okay, I gotcha.
Okay. All right. Everybody went with New Bern. Gary?
Grimsley and Weddington. Who's your pick, Garrett?
This one, it's just like what Dale said. Can go either way. But as of right this minute, I kind of think that the Warleys are going to do it.
How about you, Carrie? Who do you take?
I'm picking Weddington.
Weddington. All right. How about you, Michael? I know you're a Union County man.
Well, first, let me say that this morning I have interviewed Grimsley coach Daryl Brown because I have the utmost respect for his program and the way that they have done things since Coach Brown got here. And certainly, you may call me Union County guy, but I am happy to say that I personally will be making a trip up to Greensboro to cover this this barn burner. Of course, Grimsley has has an explosive offensive attack, just like most teams that we talked about tonight. The Warleys are led by Ryan Stevens, who is their senior quarterback, and he has been a part of the pipeline of great Grimsley quarterbacks who have came through that high school up there, and of course Mitchell Summers is his top back that he goes to, and together the Warleys have put up at least 640 points of total on offense. Sorry about the noise back there. Anyways, I don't know what that noise was. So. Anyways, so Mitchell Summers is their back here, and Terrell Anderson is Stevens' top receiver to go to. But on the other hand, their defense has given up 284 points, and that's something that has been unheard of from them, and especially in the playoffs when they were back to back with Huff in 3 overtimes. They had that special kicker, Jackson Henry, who kicked them through the Huskies, and here they are. So, I mean, now on the other hand, they will have to be disciplined on both sides of the ball against Weddington's impressive talent. I mean, we've seen it happen. The Warriors got an impressive defense led by senior Jack Collins, who has amassed over 100 tackles, more than 100 tackles. And of course, for Grimsley to stop Weddington's defense, I mean, they're going to have to be consistent with their own attack, and so will Weddington. If they too like to get past the powerhouse to go to the state title game for the first time since 2019, they too are going to have to lean on Tyra Budge, who has been consistently done everything right except for a couple of games here and there. But you know, out of respect for Grimsley and Weddington, it's a hard pick for me. I'm going with the top team.
Okay.
Grimsley.
So, Dale, you want to maybe go over some of the questions that we've had?
Yeah, so I'll go back and see any that may have not fallen in line with what we were covering or came after. And let's see here. How about this one here? Anybody want to chime in on this? I put it up on the board.
I'll say this: does East Surrey find state championship success in 2A now that Boaz's and Gosnells are all gone? I'm not going to say that they're not going to. I'll say this: winning one's going to be very hard without one of those last names, because if you're from Pilot Mountain, if your last name is Gosnell or Boaz, oh my gosh, you're just like, people are just probably just kissing your feet. You know, they're so happy to see you. There's some great talent. I mean, Dale tell me those are two of the biggest family names, sports names in that area ever. Yeah, I mean, you can still win it without one of those guys. It's not going to be as easy, though.
Right. But, you know, we see that at lots of places, this is where people have to step up and, you know, someone else has to come along. I get the question.
Yeah.
I'm going to say yes, but, you know.
May not be quite as fun.
Or as easy.
Or
somebody's
easy.
going to have to step up, right?
Yeah. Next man up. Next man up.
Next man up, exactly. Let's see here.
You know, I'm gonna have to kind of chime on this right quick.
Okay.
You know, I remember East Surrey, you know, back in 1A, you know, going to state championship games and stuff. But to me, I think they can find success in the 2A. You know, it's possible, but you know, where they can be in the 2A in the next couple of years. You know, I just saw tonight about the mid realignment. Well, there's mid realignment was going on at the most recent board meeting. You know, we got a lot of changes getting ready to take place here coming up in a couple of years. You know, so if East Surrey finds any success in a 2A, you know, these next 2 years, not this year, but next year and 2024 gonna have to be those years, because we don't know what's gonna happen in 2025 and beyond, because these changes getting ready to start taking place at the next realignment stage. So I'm gonna have to say it's possible, but if they're gonna have to do it, they're gonna have to do it in the next 2 years.
Gotcha.
Who's going to step up in the next 2 years, I guess, is the question.
Say what, Dale?
Which players are going to step? Who's going to step up and replace those two big names?
I mean,
is the question.
I mean, you never know. I mean,
Somebody, right?
Next man up. Next man up.
Next man up. Next man up.
So this next question: do you think East Lincoln will beat South Point? Yeah, I think everybody's selected East Lincoln here.
Yeah, everybody did.
Yeah, I think East. I mean, we all thought it was going to be a pretty close game, but I think East Lincoln has a little bit too much for them.
Should be a good game, and I currently think I'll be there. That's the game that I'm pegging to go see. And of course, Anthony Perkins will be there as well. If I'm there, I'll be on the field, and Anthony will be up in the press box. Let's see what else we got here. Let me take this down so we can all get up on screen. Well, I think that question just answered itself.
Yeah.
Because if we pick them to win against South Point, that means we picked them to be in the state championship. Now the question is, would we pick them to win the state championship? I don't know.
Yeah, I'll have to see who they match up with. Now I found out the 4A game is going to be on Friday, state championship game, and the 2A is going to be 11 o'clock, and then the 1A and 3A is going to be at Carter Finley. I don't know if it's 3A first or 1A first at Carter Finley, but
I hadn't seen that, Jim. So it's Friday night, the 4A game, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, at Chapel Hill.
I've only been to a few Friday night championship games. Porter Ridge was one. Monroe was one. What else have I'm not a big fan of the Friday night state championship. I don't know.
I love it on Friday night because it's in Chapel Hill, which is like 20 minutes from my house.
Sure, you are.
And
I'm down here in Charlotte.
Yeah, if the championship was in Charlotte, I'm like, Dale, I hope you enjoy the game. That's all I got to say. Visit Memorial Stadium, wherever.
You know what I did? John Till and I went, and so we stayed. We each got a room at I forget which hotel we stayed at, but we stayed overnight, and so we could go to the games. And that day we went to 3 games because you had 2 games in at Carter Finley and 1 game at Wake Forest. I'm trying to remember who all that was, but anyway, 4A's on Friday night. Okay. And the 3A game are the 3 games on Saturday. They are
2A is going to be 11 o'clock at Chapel Hill.
Uh-huh.
And then 3A and 1A will be at Carter Finley at 3. I think it's 3 and 7 o'clock.
So is 3A at night, or
I don't know if it's 3A. I don't know if it's at the 3. I don't know if it's at the 3 p.m. game or the 7 p.m. game.
It sounds like it's a 7 p.m. game.
I'm just thinking if you go to the Chapel Hill game and then, thankfully the stadiums aren't too far apart.
Well, people tell me it's funny. They had this guy he went to Carolina and he said, "Well, the 2 campuses are only 25 miles apart." I'm like, I like to see that route, how you get 25 miles between the UNC campus and the NC State campus. I've lived here a long time. You have to go through Durham County and through half of Wake County just to get to that. Not even with the crow's fly, you can't get in 25 miles.
Yeah, it's hard to get. You're going to miss part of the game is the problem. You'll miss that. There's about an hour, but actually because
you have to park, you have to go get your car, park, get something.
Yeah, and there's not enough gap between ending time of the Chapel Hill game and the start of the. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean the big thing is they have to get the game started at time at 11 o'clock on Friday or Saturday.
Sure.
They should. If they can get it done by, if it takes 2.5 hours, get done by 1:30, you can scramble to NC State and probably get there by kickoff. But it's not going to be fun, and especially if you have bad traffic. So,
I will. If Weddington happens to win, then I'll probably definitely go to that Friday night game. But we'll decide Monday, right?
Gotcha.
So I'll know next week what I'm going to do.
You can always stay at Jim's house if you have to.
With all my cats, yeah, I'm sure he'd deal with
The cats won't mind either. But
Yeah, we just as long as we go get barbecue.
boy, Jim, you
So-
mind?
Oh yeah, I'll buy.
I did not expect Kings Mountain to take such a thunder thumping like that. I didn't either, Jeff. Nobody expected that, but
Now I picked East Lincoln to win that game, but I didn't think it was going to be a thumping.
no thunder whooping.
And I've seen so many people that was saying, well, it's going to be Kings Mountain and South Point. I mean, it was just like guaranteed, like East Lincoln was an afterthought. And I'm like, you know what? There's a song about don't tug on Superman's cape. And not going to say East Lincoln was Superman, but that disrespect, that little microabrasion gets to you.
Reedsville will beat Burns. I think we had some kind of so-and-so thoughts on that. Split thoughts, maybe. So I'm not sure what he was saying, what that response was to. That must have been a response to
It was going back and forth between the games.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, going back and forth. Yeah, Jeff. So Jeff used to write a lot. He does more video stuff now, but Jeff's been with me since pretty much since I started Carolina Varsity way back in 2004. Jeff's been around a long time, and he and I have gone to a bunch of games together. And Jeff used to write. Now Jeff became the first real big star of doing stuff after games, doing videos after games. So yeah, it would be rough as a writer having to go between the games. You wouldn't be able to, actually. If you were a writer, you couldn't cover the first game at State and the first game, the game at Chapel Hill and the first game at State. I think you'd have a hard time covering both of those games.
I met Jeff at the last 2 games.
Jeff's a nice guy. He's a super nice guy. I like Jeff a lot. Yeah, we got a comment here about him being a friend. He's a friend to pretty much everybody. Anybody that meets Jeff likes Jeff. There was just maybe a couple of other points. The NCHSAA is in the middle of a 2-day meetings. They're board meetings, and there have been some schools that have requested change in classification. And if you people don't know, change in classification, you can request a change in classification, but typically that change can only occur after 2 years within the alignment. Alignments are 4 years. So we do have some, there are going to be some newly aligned schools.
I saw something about Polk County. Yeah,
Polk's going to 1A. East Bladen's going to 1A.
Yep.
And from 3A to 2A, I know that Northwood's going to 2A.
And Chase
And
got
Harding-
declined.
Chase got
Chase got declined.
Chase got declined, and Harding
Bravo
got approved to go from 4A to 3A.
So did Piedmont. So did Southern Alamance. So did AC Reynolds. Got moved.
Yeah, AC Reynolds.
Oh wow.
AC Reynolds, I didn't realize was as small. Their ADM was as small as it is. It's down there at 1,100. That's a shocker. So anybody that questions, can 3A teams play with 4A teams? AC Reynolds beat Chambers 2 weeks ago. So the answer to that question is yes. Because AC Reynolds also played Weddington a really tough ball game Friday night. there's any of those kind of questions that still linger in anybody's heads. Now, granted, Chambers isn't the team they were last year, but still. Did any other news come out of the meeting today, Jim?
Let's see. Southeast Alamance, which is the new high school in Alamance County. It's going to be a two-way. It's going to be in the 1A, 2A conference. Oxford Webb trade, I think it was Oxford Webb that went from a 2A, 3A conference to another conference. There was one, was it Corian or some academy that's going to play in that 1A, 2A. Basically, it's like an academies with Mountain Island Charter and what's that? Winston-Salem Preps, all those schools. It's kind of non-traditional schools. I can't think of the guy.
Like
the name
Tobin Academy or something.
Yeah, it's an academy, and they're going to have football next year. And it was, that's the only thing I listened to was just about the realignment. There was a lot of schools that got denied. North Stanley wanted to go from 2A to 1A, got denied. Now, J.M. Robinson went from 2A to 3A. They requested to go to 3A because they felt like there would be more exposure, more good things for their kids. I have a lot of respect for that. Piedmont went from 4A to 3A.
So over the last week or so, I've heard about, so Harding was going 3A and that got approved. And there was discussion about conference realignments maybe happening here in Mecklenburg County, because what's going to happen, Harding going 3A has got to move into a 3A conference. So they're either going to, the discussion was to move them into the conference with West Charlotte and Mallard Creek and Huff and, into that conference. So that's going to put too many teams in that conference. And so there might be, I don't know if that's going to come about, but there might be a realignment of the three Mecklenburg County conferences, which are currently all CMS schools. So with the exception of Charlotte Catholic. So
now, some things I've read about on this day, and I'm going to have a question too. Jim, you might can be able to clear this up for me on this question. First off, we're going to do the question. Now, these mid realignments that have been taking place, are they going to be effective immediately, or are they going to be effective starting the next realignment?
No, the next school year.
Next school year, so.
Yep, 2023, 24 season. So
okay.
After the school year. Okay.
And now the point I found that was interesting, there's been a lot of chatter, back and forth about expanding the classifications, from 4A to 5 or 6A. They had some chatter today from what I read about going to 7A classifications. Now, do you think that's a good idea? Do you think, to me, it sounds interesting.
Seven's too many.
You think 7's too many?
Six to me seems to be a better fit as far as splitting things up is concerned.
But from what I read, Dale, this is what I read on the website, is that something, I think they said something to the effect of the classification splitting up would be more for the realignment purposes, because you have like so many schools here and so many schools there. One question they had was like the amount of schools, how affect like the amount of the conference the divisions right now that don't got that many schools, stuff like that. I gotta go back and really look at it again some more to get better insight on it. But I just feel like that right there, just the fact that there was even some chatter within the board about expanding classifications is a very intriguing topic.
Well, they did chatter about it 3 years ago, wasn't it, Jim?
Even last year, they did a vote, and it got there was a lot of most of the people that voted yes, but there wasn't enough votes to get I think the 75% threshold or whatever the threshold is.
Right. So I don't know. As we've discussed many times, I think we all agree, or I think we all agree. I know that Jim and I agree. If we could come up with classifications that eliminated split conferences, that would be the ideal classification breakdown.
The more classifications you have, you're going to have more split conferences, unfortunately. The one thing I'd do, though, is if I'd go to a 6A, let's do 6 classifications, and then set that you're going to have 1A, 2As, 3A, 4As, and 5A, 6A classifications. Basically, prevent it from having a 2A and a 3A and a 4A and a 5A split conferences. Basically, just have small, average, big schools all together in classifications. And I think that's probably the way to go. And you'll have 6 championships and a lot of split conferences, but it wouldn't be insanely crazy.
Right. I think you could also do a I don't know, but out of the 6, they might be able to find some way. They wouldn't be evenly split 6.
Right.
I thought about maybe having 5 classifications and then a big 16. So the 16 largest schools. The only problem is when you look at ADM, and I was looking at the DPI report today, the largest schools in the state are not our best football schools.
And they're usually what was it? Wake County, Mecklenburg County, and maybe
I think Ardrey-Kell was the largest, and South Mecklenburg, and I probably got the spreadsheet still, but it's if you did it by the top 16, you'd want to know that going into the season who they're going to be, not after you've completed the season. I don't think. I don't know. It's a hard. So the largest school is Myers Park. So if you look at it for this year, Myers Park's the largest school at 3,500 students. Almost 36, 3,593. Ardrey-Kell is number 2 at 3,529. South Mecklenburg is number 3 at 3,344. 2 of those teams didn't even qualify for the playoffs. Then you got Apex, Friendship, Leedsville Road, and then you get Huff. So you don't get one of the powers until you get down to the 7th largest school. Then Enlow and Apex and Panther Creek and Millbrook. Then you got East Mecklenburg. I mean, listen at these. It's Rollsville. It's
quick question for you, Dale. I was thinking about East Meck. What do you think it would take to get East? I mean, East Meck has become outside of Garinger, might be the weakest team the last 5 years in Mecklenburg County. What do you think needs to do to improve that program?
The weakest. Well, you're discounting Philip O'Berry too. I mean, not counting, I should say. Discounting if you're grouping them as the least effective. How do we put it? The worst. I'm sorry, guys. East Mecklenburg probably has the best opportunity to turn things. I hate to use demographics too much, but they probably would be better at soccer. Kind of the same thing that's happened with Garinger. You get a community of people that are more interested or not as interested in American football. It's kind of one of the things that's happening to them. But with any of these programs, Jim, coaching can turn it around. Coaching and administration. First, you got to have administrators that want to be successful. And East Mecklenburg's got a wonderful AD. I think Coach Fowler's a great guy. But you got to have principle behind it, and then you have to get the right coaching. The same thing with Garinger. Same thing.
Gotcha.
You know, one of the things I've seen, you know, about this that I thought was interesting is, you know, like we say, you know, the discussion of these realignments and stuff. And, you know, I've always thought that they, you know, that the association kind of frowned upon, you know, that because you look at all these other states out there, they have more than 4 classifications in high school athletics. You know, you have like Georgia, for example, has got what, like 6 classifications, 7. Texas got like 7, 8. South Carolina's got like 5, 6, something like that.
But you got to think about something a minute though. Georgia's the largest state east of the Mississippi, physically largest state. Texas is, of course, the largest state in the continental U.S. It's kind of hard to look at other states and judge numbers of classifications. You really have to look at populations, I think, of schools.
And where they come from. North Carolina is so long. Manteo to Murphy is what, 530 some miles?
Yeah, exactly. It's a very wide state.
And if you look at the 1As, the Smoky Mountain Conference in the very far western tip, you get 6 or 7 schools. They're really small. You get 1As littered here, like in the northeastern part of North Carolina. Some of them are down, we're not that far from where Garrett lives. I mean, there's some like where I'm from, Stanley County, you know, Albemarle, South Stanley. It's all over the place. 4A is pretty much concentrated in Wake County, Mecklenburg County, the Triads, few teams over in Cumberland County, you know, Asheville, 1 or 2 schools. Got about 3 or 4 schools in Wilmington. And then you get a couple of them here and there, like the New Bern and the South Central and the McDowell County. They're kind of island on their string. But 1A is really hard. 2A is also, 2A is like the exurbs, not the suburbs, but the exurbs. Like North Stanley's a 2A school. They're littered all over the place. James Keenan, Wallace Rose Hill, was it Brevard over in the mountains, you know. You go over to Northeastern, Edenton Homes. They're all over the place too. It's a little bit easier to get a 2A conference. But the thing is, sometimes they're so far apart. Like at one time there was a 1A, 2A, 3A conference back when Manteo was a 3A school before they opened up First Flight. There wasn't a 3A school within 100 miles of Manteo. You had to go all the way over to Little Washington to find a 3A school. That's one reason why the classifications can be so hard about it.
Yeah.
So if you want more classifications, you're going to have more split conferences. If you want to live with that, that's cool.
I thought I'd mention when I was mentioning those ADMs for Myers Park at 3,500, and I look here at West Lincoln, 756. I was just wondering, was that a shock for you on the side number of students?
It's the lowest that we've been. We're down. We're way down. But the growth in Lincoln County is huge right now, so I'm sure it'll rebound back up.
Right.
No,
But
the growth.
we're the lowest we've ever been, I think.
I just was curious, was you shocked at 3,500 students,
Oh, yeah.
3,600 students in a school?
Yeah, and I went to a high school at South Brunswick. My graduating class was 801. I mean, when I was there, I was like 801.
Now, just out of curiosity, in Lincoln County, is a lot of the growth in the eastern part of the county, like over in Denver?
No, it's all over.
Is it all
They're
over?
getting tons out towards the west too, where they're coming in and they're buying like a lot of the farmland and stuff, and these contractors are building tons and tons of these terrible communities, in my opinion. But they're deciding whether or not they can come in and do it because we don't have the infrastructure and the water to be able to get to them. So, but we're going to see a huge boom. Yeah,
that's what we've experienced in Hillsborough. It's like the triad our triangle has grown so far. Now it's pulling over to into Hillsborough. And the funny thing is, the triad and the triangle are almost touching each other right now. And basically, the only thing separating the triad and the triangles is like Burlington. Burlington's just right outside the triad and right outside the triangle. And that's about it.
Yeah, I mean but the east side always gets a ton of stuff being built up because it's out towards the lake. But in the west is getting a lot.
Michael, I see you're telling us goodbyes. We thank you for giving time tonight, and hopefully you'll come back and join us. You're welcome, and hopefully I'll see you. I won't see you this Friday night. I'm not going to Greensboro, but I hope you have a good game Friday night.
Yeah, safe travels.
I sure hope so. Ladies and gents, thanks again for having me. But I got a busy day ahead of me tomorrow, and certainly respect and admire everything that you're doing, Dale, to bring exposure and get youth involved in the media side of sports, and of course, getting to know all the people who get to play these sports in North Carolina. So I owe some credit to you for everything that you've done. So thank you guys for all that you do.
And we're going to help you meet other coaches. So I know you said that was one of your goals. You want to start spreading out and getting to know other people. We'll help you with that. So Jim knows a lot of people. We'll help get you introduced into.
Mike, let me run off and say this to you. If you ever do decide to travel down this direction, have Dale hit me up about it, and I could probably get you to some coaches down here too. Battle Harley, Kevin Motsinger, Tim Grady at James Keenan, Hugh Martin at North Dublin, Jeff Craddock at Tarboro.
Who's your guy from Richland? It's the one that calls you Rat.
Pat Bird at Richlands. Pretty sure Pat knows the coach at Jacksonville. I could, down here and kind of in this area, like say, just talk, get up with Dale. You ever come down here? Hopefully you do, because I could tell by the way you talk, and you got yourself a golden talent like this. You got a wonderful golden talent. Your voice. First thing I just picked up on when you started talking was just how that voice just gave me a flashback back to Walter Cronkite type days. You know, so you got yourself some talent there, my friend. You really,
Yes, sir.
truly do. So come on down to Dukeman County, down here this eastern part of North Carolina. Just hit up with Dale and let him hit up with me, and we can introduce you to some people down here too that so you can keep branching out and spreading out your wings, man. Keep going, keep doing what you're doing. Proud of you, man, and keep going.
The one thing I'll add too is it's not just about the coaches here. I don't know. I honestly do not know why I don't see Dale on there with his honest two conferences. I don't know what's going on there. So
You can't see me?
Yeah,
No.
I can't see you, man.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like covering up yours and covering up about half of Mike's.
Oh,
It's on the left hand side. Yeah,
Oh, let me take that down. That's too big.
there you go. It's
okay.
better now.
It's all good. Yes, but
All right.
back to what I was saying before. It's not only just talking about coaches and realignments. The realignments are just as important as preparing for the game day experience on Friday nights because of course, when looking at the realignment changes, it's certainly a big factor at any time, especially when we're looking at sports teams from all over who half of them are good and half of them are not so good. But also, the people, high school students who have this opportunity to play these sports, including football, across the state, also are some of the people that I like to connect with in the future. So, I mean, for me right now, it starts with the coaches because they have a lot of great information about their programs, including football, but in the much nearer future, the players, though, it's they're the real reason why Carolina Varsity is here, as well as the Inquirer Journal, the Charlotte Observer, all these news outlets and everything else. So, Gary, I appreciate your kind words about my speech and my voice, and I certainly appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you again. Thanks.
Well,
All right. Take care, guy.
take care, man.
Well, yes, sir.
And come on down. We want to see you.
You know it. We will be in touch.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Carrie, have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Jim, you have a good night too.
All right, brother. You take care of yourself, man.
All right.
Yes, sir. You too.
Well, Carrie's been awfully quiet today here. Carrie, if you had to go to a stadium that you haven't been to, but you've heard some good things about, like good lights or whatever to take photos or watch a game, where would you go?
I don't know. Probably one of the 4A stadiums in Charlotte. Because
One
we
of the
get a lot
newer.
of small ones.
Yeah, one of the newer ones.
Yeah.
That's where your best lighting's going to be, and the lighting is phenomenal.
Yeah.
You want me to tell you a good one, Carrie?
Where?
For lighting, Richmond County. They have
Right.
new LED. They have new LED lights.
Yeah, I've been to a couple that have it. Now, right now, in my conference, the best is actually Carroll, Newton Conover, and where did we go this past team? Some Bandy's. Bandy's has really good lighting. But I had gone somewhere that had obviously Hendersonville had wonderful lighting when we went there, but it looks like they're newer and they have turf and everything. Kings Mountain has great lighting. But I'm hoping that when we get our turf this year, that we get some updated lights.
Well, funny story for you. There's two stadiums that are absolutely horrible for lights. One of them was down in Plymouth, And this is back when it was actually Plymouth High School. It's on the same campus, but part of the stadium is just basically pitch black on the gridiron. You can't see anything. You almost want to build like little minor helmets up there on the football players so they can see this.
West Caldwell is. Last year was as bad as this year was, and I stood on the opposite side with the coaches on the other team to take pictures because that's the only side that had lights. Half the lights in the stadium anymore. It's terrible. It's the worst place to take pictures. Now,
another bad place is over at Chapel Hill High School, and they were bragging one year that they got some good lighting, and I'm like, yeah, they might have some good lighting, but the lighting is so far away from the field, it doesn't do much good whatsoever. And that's another place, like, after like about 20 minutes after the sun goes down, you can forget about taking pictures because they're just horrible.
Now, we did a game at Cherokee a couple years ago.
Oh, that's a nice place.
Wow, that was a nice place. And the pictures there were phenomenal.
Casino money.
That's federal money. That's federal money too.
That was crazy nice. It was a one-day school, and I was like, "Is this a ski resort?" Wow.
Yeah, that's their own LEA.
And I don't even know how we ended up playing them. I think we ended up playing them. I think on a bye week or something, or we had a week off or something like that, and we picked the game up. And
the lighting at West Lincoln must be adequate, at least I would say, because you get great shots. What is your lighting?
Some of it is
post processing.
Yeah, there was a lot of that. So, but most of the schools that we do are okay. To be honest, for Cherville to be such an older school and that older stadium that they have there right now, Cherville is amazing. It's probably my best.
Where would you go if, based on experiences you've heard, someplace you've not been but you've heard is a great place to go?
I don't know. Like, see, I don't get exposed to any of the 4A games. So I'd like to do some of the bigger 4A games, or like maybe go down to like a Grimsley game, or do like some of the 4A teams in Charlotte. Because like I've experienced Shelby and I've experienced Kings Mountain and some of the other Cleveland County schools, and but there's nothing in Hickory that really.
Yeah, so you don't come to Charlotte too much for an experience. You come to Charlotte to see good football games.
Yeah.
And then so they're kind of two different things.
Well, that's an experience for me because I want the game to be good. If I'm going, I don't want to be somebody just getting blasted.
Sure. Well, no, you wouldn't see them blasted. You could come to Charlotte and watch two high performance games of teams going to each other. The overall environment is not going to be the same, though.
Now, I'll tell you a nice stadium. Freedom High School had a nice stadium. And it's been 30-some years since I've been there. Now I understand that East Burke even has a better stadium.
I've been to East Burke. It's nice. It's okay. It's not. It doesn't give great pictures because you're like in a back. And
yeah.
It looks gray. You don't get it. Yeah. But
exactly.
We play East Burke, so been there.
Yeah.
It's nice. It is. But I've been to a nicer state. To me, Kings Mountain was nicer than East Burke.
Most of the mountain stadiums are really nice.
It's nice having the view out with the stadium too. That's really pretty. Yeah. Yep. That's a nice thing. But some of the bigger stadiums, I go to a couple of different places. I've traveled with marching band too. With my son was a marching band, so I've seen some other ones that have been really, really pretty too. So
cool.
Yeah.
Guys, I'm going to have to call it a night, unfortunately.
Yeah. There were a couple of questions about Mason Avery. Is there any more information you got on how his
He's
recruiting
gotten
might
some
go?
more offers, but he actually was just voted Player of the Year for both the offensive and defensive Player of the Year for the CDAC conference. The first time since they went back to like 1979, and that's what happened, where one player got both. So I know he's gotten a couple more offers from like St. Augustine, Wittenberg, I think, and then I don't think any bigger schools, but he's still doing visits and still talking to coaches, so he's doing good. He got promoted to 2-star.
Okay. Who did you say offered just?
He's saying the last two I think were St. Augustine and Wittenberg.
Okay. So he's been offered by Davidson.
It's Davidson. It is. Let me look and see. It from what I know of, it was. Let me look. I know Davidson. I know the St. Augustine. Here he goes. He posted. Yeah, Wittenberg University. I don't know who they are.
I don't know who they
And
are either.
then he took a visit recently at the Citadel. The St. Augustine. He got his 2-star, and then
I've got you muted, Jim,
Davidson.
so we can
He
hear.
took a visit at Elon.
Oh, he's visited. He's visiting.
Yeah,
Okay.
he went to Citadel and Elon here recently. He
Uh-huh.
posted. He got Ferrum College, and
Yeah, I know who Ferrum is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they offered him. I know I'm missing some others. I think he went to Wingate.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Gardner Webb, maybe. I could be wrong about Gardner Webb. I know he's visited at like Lenore Ryan, bunch of stuff like. But I'm sure I'm missing some. But that's what I have right now. As far as I know, Davidson sounds nice, but I'm not making.
I was going to say Davidson's the way to go.
But I'm not making that decision. So, and I know he's still taking visits and stuff, and still talking to people. So, I thought that Western had reached out to him, but I could be wrong about I don't know what's going on with them.
Yeah, I think with Davidson, the biggest issue would be, I don't know if it's an issue, but would be able to work out at Davidson. You have to end up getting grants and things like that to get covered because they don't have scholarships.
I don't think it would be a problem. Yeah,
But
and he's uber smart, so that's not an
Right.
issue getting in anywhere because he's the top of his class.
Oh, Davidson wouldn't recruit him if he wasn't uber smart. He's got to be
he's
uber
crazy
smart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
at the very top of the class.
exactly.
Well,
So that'd be a good place to go.
Guys, I'm about to head off, man. It's good seeing
Okay,
everybody.
Jim.
Carrie,
All right.
Dale, you take care of yourself.
Bye.
Okay.
Take it easy,
Bye-bye.
Jim. Talk to you
Sit
soon.
down. All right, man.
Well, I think probably good time to run to Carrie. You're doing wrestling. You said this weekend. Are you going to be posting your wrestling pictures?
Yeah, I'm gonna post them, and I just while I was on live got asked to pop into some of the basketball games for West Lincoln, so I'll probably post some of those too.
Okay. Are you so you are going to do basketball as well? Some
Yeah,
basketball
a
at
couple of
least.
the games, yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, there's a wrestling tournament at St. Stephen's Friday and Saturday. I'm gonna go do that.
Well, cool. You've shot wrestling before, I guess. Is that
Oh
right?
yeah. The whole season last year.
Oh,
My
okay.
very favorite place to take pictures, it was at the state tournament for wrestling
Oh, great.
at the Coliseum in Greensboro.
Well, I hope you guys like Michael. He's
Yeah.
a good kid, and I don't know what his learning disability was, but to have overcome that, I don't know if you caught that part. He had a learning disability up to age 2, he said. Um, very, very, very good guy. Very good guy. So very sharp too.
Yeah.
I've interacted with him before, but he carried himself well tonight.
Yeah.
He
Well
did.
spoken.
He did a phenomenal job tonight. I was highly
Yeah.
impressed with how phenomenal he did. You know, I feel like that he's got a bright future ahead of him, especially in the media business. I
What
mean,
he's getting his degree in, and
and I really truly think that he's got to me, what I've kind of gathered from him is that his knowledge, his punctuation, the way he presented himself, the way he just came off was very likable, creditable. You know, he could probably easily get a high um, position, like with a sports company like a ESPN, CBS Sports, Fox Sports, or whatever. He just I can just tell that he's got that
confidence.
moxie about him.
Yeah, he's got that confidence, and
He sure does.
I noticed that Friday night when he was interviewing the coaches and players. He's very confident with his voice and his presentation. So, and I see here David Simmons and Jeff Miller has asked for. Yeah, I'm familiar with Jeff having that, and that's, I think it's cool that people are able to overcome any challenges, is what I call them. I don't really like to say disability, more a challenge. But
You know,
okay, well,
people overcome these things a lot, and you know, a lot of times when they overcome them, it's kind of like under the radar type of deal.
it's really with, I think what people don't understand is that behind these things, they're still humans,
Exactly.
and they're just getting certain aspects of them are getting masked by something. But you get underneath the mask, you can see that there's more there, and that's just the way I view it. And that's true with everybody, no matter what their situation is. And again, I said it a few weeks ago, SBSK. If you've never watched it, you should watch it. Have you ever seen it, Carrie?
You told me about it. I was looking it up.
Did you watch any of the videos, or
Mhm.
so what was your thought?
I was showing my son Ethan, he has stutters. He stutters, and I was just showing him some of the stuff because we also have my sister-in-law was an EC teacher for Lincoln County, just retired. So there was a lot of good material in there. I liked it.
I think it's good in two respects. One, or two aspects. One, it can help someone who doesn't know maybe
Yeah, the
the
education aspect. Yeah.
yeah, there's an educational aspect to it, both for uh, a particular ailment or whatever you may be, or just in general of how uh, people with these situations are still people. And
Yeah.
then, well, that's it. One you can learn about, and that's for people like me. Although some of the stuff discussed, I'm sure I have. Not the severe stuff, but ADHD and maybe stuff like that.
Yeah,
But
my son
then,
Ethan has ADHD.
so I showed it to my granddaughter, and she had been watching some autism stuff. She's potentially is on the spectrum. She'd be what would be called a highly functional autistic person, and she watches it, and she it was kind of interesting. We were watching one the other day, and as the girl was explaining, you know, she was asked, "How does your mind function?" Was one of the questions. She said something about the brain, and he said, "Explain." She said, "It's like you have two brains." And so he had her explain, and my granddaughter's like, "Yeah." She said, she told me, she said, "Exactly." So it can also help those who have see how others are handling it.
It'd probably be very beneficial in school setting.
Yeah, he taught for 4 years. Um, so he did that same, he started his videos filming his classroom. And so he did the same kind of stuff that he does in his videos where he goes out and interviews. He was basically doing that in his classroom. Now, did you mean in a classroom setting environment just
To like
you know,
show the videos and stuff.
yeah,
Like especially if you have some kids that are struggling in class, because a lot of those kids that with ADHD and things like that struggle making relationships with their peers and stuff, and there's a lot of bullying things that go on, and a lot of
yeah,
it would be just if they knew what was kind of
yeah. I think
education might go a long way.
I like that idea though, to also maybe educate the bullies
Yeah,
and kids who
yeah.
don't
Have
know.
them watch it so they kind of know what's happening.
Yeah, so if you let everybody watch it, you might be able to pull some empathy from
Mm.
even the non-bullies that would keep, so the kids that are just kind of neutral.
Yeah, that they
Uh,
would step in and take up for them.
exactly, because they would have some empathy and understand what's happening here.
Because a lot of times they just don't know. They're not exposed to it. So they have no idea. And it's something different and new. So all they know to do is make fun of it and point it out.
I think it's the best environment to do it would be. I think that would be a good educational tool.
Especially like elementary age.
Mhm. And it might help some kids discover issues they've got that nobody's diagnosed.
Yeah.
I don't know, but
I mean, they could always have it linked to like school pages, like the teacher pages and stuff at
mhm.
the schools and stuff for the parents to.
Well, I promote this a lot because I think it's a great show. That's why I mentioned it to you
Yeah.
guys. In fact, I'm probably going to go watch an episode right now. I try to watch one a night at least, and sometimes I end up watching 2 or 3 if they're short. I didn't discover it till maybe 3 months ago, so there's a lot I can watch.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking your time, and Garrett, thanks for being able to get in with us tonight.
You're
He had
welcome.
internet. And we're gonna run. Y'all take care.